Hello fellow woodworkers, welcome to this week's edition of the Garage Workshop, and this week we're going to be seeing if it's cheaper to make a replacement fence panel or buy one. Roll the intro. So, as with all my projects recently, the first stage was measuring. I took quite a lot of measurements because obviously when you're dealing with wood that's fairly expensive, you want to make sure that you get all the cuts right. So I spent some time getting the measurements here. So fellow woodworkers, this is the wood that I've got, and you'll have seen in the previous part of the video there that I was just placing it together. Now this shiplap I bought from a big box store in the UK called Wickes, and it's £11.97 for one piece. Now as you can see, I've got a lot of pieces here, and all of these pieces I picked up because they are all damaged in some way. So for example, you can see that's got a cut out of it. Some of the pieces are split down the middle. Some of the pieces have got big grooves taken out of them. Some have got dents in them. So all of these pieces of wood have all been sold damaged basically. Now what I've managed to do is cut some of them down. Some of them came this size, some I cut in half just to get in my car, and I've cut them all down to a relatively normal size, or good size. That's what the row is on the bottom that you just saw me put together. So the plan is now to make a whole section, and obviously I have to take on board the fact that because these are all sort of mismatches, they're all slightly different colours, which you can see, which doesn't matter because in the end it's going to be stained. And obviously, for example, this one, I'm not sure if you can see that, apart from the fact this whole top ridge is broken and it's not usable, it's actually two different colours, so that's been stored somewhere. So at the end of the video I'll tell you the cost of what this project actually cost and what it would have cost. The fence panel that I can source as a replacement for the one out the front. If I buy it from the orange logoed big box store, it's about £29. Now, all of these pieces of shiplap you can see in front of you, they all cost me £20. But like I said, if I'd have bought this amount of shiplap, not damaged ones, and paid full price, I would have paid significantly more than that. So the next stage is I'm going to lay out my pieces, 2 pieces of treated rough sawn timber that are going to be the sort of back. I'll put all these on, and then we'll start creating the fence panel.
So this rough sawn timber came from the big box store. It was £5.97, I think, for each piece, and these pieces were just the right size. I'd measured them that way. So the next thing I did was went through all of the pieces, looked at what could be rescued and couldn't be rescued, and then I just marked them all up to take the bits off at the miter saw, which basically couldn't be used. There wasn't a huge amount of wastage, I'm very pleased to say. Not a great amount, but just bits and bobs here and there. But because I didn't need a massive amount from each plank, I was okay, I had enough. I then went over to my new miter saw setup, which you can see there, and I've left the sound up. Hopefully when I'm talking you'll be able to hear it. This is amazing, this miter saw. As you can see, I've changed the blade. I bought a Saxon blade for it, which is really sharp. It's an 80 teeth blade, and it's just effortless. This, I've never ever used a miter saw like this. Brilliant. And obviously I'll put a link to the Evolution review of the miter saw in the comments, but really pleased with the miter saw. And it went through this wood, which is pretty soft anyway, literally like a knife through butter. So it wasn't long before all those bits that weren't needed were all cut off.
Okay, so fellow woodworkers, from my measurements, I know that the tallest part of the fence panel is 73mm, which you'll just have seen me cut up on the miter saw. So that is the biggest bit. So as you can see, these are all much bigger than they need to be. And at the lowest point, because it's got a curve on it, it's 60 centimeters. So all I'm going to do is start organizing all these pieces of wood. I'll put them inside each other, interlock them, and see how much we need. Let's do that now.
So this step of putting everything together actually was really valuable, because it also gave me an understanding of where the wood is going to go in relation to the sort of cross member braces. So I just took my time and fitted them all together.
So I just wanted to show you what I've done this end. I've just literally knocked up a really basic stop. I haven't worked out what I'm doing for the stop for this workbench yet, but I've just knocked together a couple of pieces of plywood. It's not going anywhere, it's rock solid, and I've got the wood measured to 73 centimeters, which is what the size all the slats need to be. So I'm just literally going to run them through now and cut them all down to size. The two on either end I am going to reduce in width, because I don't need to have the groove to fit the next piece in, and as you saw, it overlapped by quite a bit. So I'm going to start by just cutting this one down, and then when I measure all the other ones and lay it all up, it will give me the exact space the last one needs to be. So I am going to cut that one down, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when I get to the end. So first stage is to run all the wood through, get it all the same size.
So with that stop block in place, it was literally just a case of running everything through the saw and getting everything exactly the right size. I mean, it's a really basic stop block, but it worked really well. But like I said, I have got to think of what I'm going to do as something a bit more permanent for this saw solution. So with that done, I then laid them out. The bits of wood you can see going underneath is just because the length of the panel, or the width of the panel, is bigger than the table that I'm using, so it extends beyond it. So I just put some of the bits of shiplap that I wasn't using, some of the longer bits on there. I actually ended up with quite a few bits of shiplap left, so probably enough for at least half a panel on a future project, but I think I might do that. After, I literally just pin these down with the air compressor and my brad nailer. I'm using 35mm here. This first one I went a bit crazy on the amount of nails. I do screw it, which you'll see at the end. I also screw the slats in, but this went straight through, no problem, and I had a good old tug off camera of it, and there's no way those pieces of wood, the rough sawn timber, is going anywhere. So like I said, did go a bit nail crazy on this side, and I did calm down a little bit on the other side. The other thing I should say is I've deliberately spaced these. I use a wooden space. You can see that this is about the same size as the panel I'm taking off. The spacer is about the same size as that. It's a little bit smaller, but not much. So I literally just put the two spacers in, then I attach that second piece of wood, and then at the end it was just a case of knocking those spacers out. So it didn't take very long, this bit. And like I said, I wasn't ever going to leave it just as that. So when I'd got it done and I was happy, I just attached these two bits of wood, and this really is just to help it sit more in, because they're the sort of posts that fits in between the concrete ones. One's on a slight angle. So I just decided to put a piece of an offcut of the wood in, just to sort of make the side a bit wider. And I just literally used the outdoor wood glue for this, and just clamped it all up, and then just popped in a couple of brad nails where those pieces of wood join the main struts. Then it was a case of just screwing everything in. I didn't screw every single panel, it was every other panel, because basically I didn't want this to look like it had been over drilled and over screwed. So I literally just did every other panel all the way round, to make sure that nothing was going to move and nothing was going to go anywhere. The next stage was just to trim off all the slight edges. The edge on the right, as you can see, is absolutely perfectly straight, but the whole panel was a little bit too big, so I literally just took that off, and then I free-handed just a couple of angles. I'd marked the angles out using a set square, but I just wanted to sort of freehand them really and give them a little sort of bevel. I then used some water-resistant sealant, which I also got from Wickes. I'll put a link to that in the description, and I literally just filled in everywhere where the wood had been cut, because obviously this shiplap wood is already treated. It doesn't need to be treated by me. So I literally just went through and filled in all of the bits that had been exposed, you know, through cutting, to make sure that they were sealed. And I deliberately not sealed anywhere else, because now all of this wood is treated. It's just ready to take on the coat, whatever colour we decide to do it.
So fellow woodworkers, as you can see, the fence panel is finished. The last thing I did there was just apply a coat of waterproof sealer. I haven't painted it because it's going to be painted the colour of the rest of the fence. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I haven't tried it yet, so fingers crossed it fits. It should. I have rechecked the measurements. So the whole point of this video was, could I manufacture a fence panel for cheaper than I can buy one? Now, all of the wood that you see here, this entire panel, it's cost £34.59 to make, and obviously I can buy a panel from the local big box store for less than that, for £29. But if we're just judging this project solely on whether one is more expensive, it isn't. But what I would say is the quality of the panel that I could get from that big box store is nowhere near as good as this. It's very thin, it's very flimsy, the slats of wood in it are really thin. This is a really nicely constructed shiplap fence panel. It's going to last a lot longer, and it's a lot better made, and it also looks a lot nicer. So for me, a success, but definitely more expensive than if I just went and bought one off the shelf. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for joining me. If this is your first time at the Garage Workshop, please can I ask you to subscribe, like and comment. It's really important to the algorithm, and it helps get the channel out to a lot more people. If you are a regular subscriber and viewer, thank you so much. Again, don't forget to like and comment. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on next week's edition of the Garage Workshop. Take care, fellow woodworkers.